Yes, that's right, folks. After getting lots and lots of games in Immortal Empires, the patches are starting to shake out a little bit. I can start to determine what I think are some of the best units in a given class. Right now, I don't even have the best unit here on the field at the moment. Marauder Horsemen for, all the Chaos Monogods, Warriors of Chaos, and of course, Norsca themselves are the best skirmish cav in the game for a number of different reasons. But today, I'm facing off against Marauder Rohan. Let's quickly go over the starting builds. We've got Wolfrick the Wanderer here, a War Shrine War Mammoth. Not a lot of people realize, but this thing actually does carry the Undivided War Shrine, same as the one you can take on Warriors of Chaos, except obviously this one's mounted on a Mammoth, which makes it much more useful. 10% physical resistance, even just for the Mammoth itself. I mean, up to 10%, I should say. Once you charge it up, can be quite useful. Can kind of also act as a sort of Ursat's Guardian for Wolfrick as well. When a unit has this much HP, those small percentage resistances can actually add up quite quickly. Got some Marauders through the center, a couple of Marauder champs as well for a nice backbone. Lore of Metalcaster coming out of reserve immediately. Rider Rohan, of course, coming in with Tyrion. He's got some Rangers. A Phoenix Guard are a great pick against Norsca, generally, if you can avoid the AoE magic damage. Also got some Archers, and Sisters of Avalorn should be good on this fairly restricted map. Let's take a look at the reserves, where the Marauder Horsemen actually are. For my Norskin reserves, I've got 4 Marauder Berserkers, the Beast of Tashnar, a Lore of Metal Sorcerer on foot with just Final Transmutation and Searing Doom, the titular 4 Marauder Horsemen with Throwing Axes. We'll get to them in just a minute. Some Poison Warhounds, Marauder Spearmen, 2 of them, 2 Warhounds, 2 Poison Hounds, that is, and 1 regular Warhound. For Rider Rohan's reserves, he's got 4 Illyrian Reavers and 2 Silverhelms for Cavalry, an Arcane Phoenix, 2 White Lion Infantry, a single Ranger, and 2 Archers. And now we'll get to the battle itself. So, as a Marauder Horseman prepare to deploy here, we'll talk a little bit about them. So, obviously there's the elephant in the room, no pun intended, that we should address up front, as Tyrion makes a little bit of a bold attempt here, a little bit of a misplay by Rider Rohan. He should be able to recover this fairly quickly, but yeah, the Marauder Horsemen are bugged right now. They can actually fire through their own friendly models, which is not intended. It makes their performance, particularly in melee, a little bit over what it should be right now, because even when they're engaged by something like a heavy cavalry unit, often they will win because they're throwing their javelins or axes in melee, especially the throwing axes, as Lore of Boats here just tears a hole through those Sisters of Avalorn. Didn't actually kill any unit models, though, which is a big problem because it didn't lessen their volume of fire and can easily just be restored with a nice Earth Blood there. But anyway, of course, Marauder Horsemen come in a number of varieties. You've got your basic Marauder Horsemen throwing axes that also have a shield, which gives them a missile block chance. That's what I've taken here. You'll see some coming out in just a minute. Of course, you've also got the Horse Masters, which are available only to Norsca and Warriors of Chaos. They have a little bit more armor, a little bit better stats. They still carry javelins, though, so they have non-armor piercing primary damage. Of course, you've got all of the marked Marauder Horsemen, as well as my poor War Shrine Mammoth is just eating all of the arrows here, proving very cost inefficient. Has not charged up much physical resistance at all, just giving a measly 1% to these units nearby, and that's not going to help against that Sun Fang there, really. Not that the Sun Fang got the best contact ever, but finally some Marauder Horsemen come out so we can start to take a look. Of course, the Norskin variety gets this Rage, which will help them in more of a hybrid role, and one of the reasons why I say Marauder Horsemen are the best skirmish cavalry in the game, and it pains me to do so because I'm, of course, highly biased towards Pistoliers. But just in general, their damage is very good. I mean, they can equal the damage of Pistoliers. I think the Javelins have very similar DPS output to Pistoliers, and they have much better melee stats, making them a great hybrid option in terms of melee and skirmish cav. Of course, you've got the different variants, so like, I think it's, what, 600, 625 maybe specifically for the Norskin variant here. For an armor-piercing skirmish cav with great hybrid stats is very cost-effective, and I mean, they have certainly been carrying Warriors of Chaos and Norsca for quite some time in land battles in Warhammer 1 and 2. But now in this new age here with their new animation set, of course, there's the bug, as I mentioned, but even without that, I think they'd still probably be the best skirmish cav overall in the game, especially when you start to consider the variety of marks you can take, right? Like the Khorne guys with dual hand weapons that also throw axes. I kind of just pressure here in the center. We'll get back to the battle here. Yeah, Champs pushing through pretty heavily. They kind of beat down those Rangers, trying to overrun into the Archers as I send my War Shrine just to defend over here. Rider Rohan's not pushing this objective at all as we unleash another lure of boats there on those Phoenix Guard. So, yeah, we're going to just keep the Warshine Mammoth over here, reinforce with a couple of infantry, and just try and keep these Marauder Horsemen right now in a position to throw axes at the Phoenix Guard. Of course, Phoenix Guard do have a little bit of physical resistance, so it's not going to be ideal, absolutely, but still, certainly the armor-piercing damage should help. Just tear away some of the models there, and we can move in to fight with them later in melee. Certainly those Sisters of Avalorn shots hurt also, but we're going to rush through some Hounds, Beasts of Tashnar here, and the Poison Warhounds coming out to help run down these units in the back line. Champs overextending pretty hard into my opponent's deployment zone. Rider Rohan going to bottle them up there, but at the same time, you know, they are bottling up a number of units over there, which is preventing them from coming into this center fight here. Wolfrick also kind of hanging around, is taking significant damage from the archers. Got to be careful to use him correctly, but right now, a little bit of Earthblood restoring, of course. My own caster threw him recklessly into melee, and he gets beat up pretty badly and routed away. Not really too much of a surprise there, but anyway, yeah, Marauder Horsemen continuing to fire here. We've got another unit on station. I'm going to keep amassing them onto this center objective as much as possible, just kind of hanging out on the side, and Rider Rohan did sweep some Reavers up around his home objective to try and chase off some of these routing units, but want to try and keep them in range as much as possible. I mean, the Reavers, even in melee, like if you compare their stats, I mean, 32-38, certainly better than the 22-26 of the Marauder Horsemen, but you have to consider, again, it's a hybrid unit. They don't have martial prowess, and they will continue to fire while in melee. And in this type of a situation here, we'll see how well the Reavers do. Let's keep the health bars up so you can see the charge damage they get there. Lure of Boats, once again, proving very decisive against those Rangers and Phoenix Guard, but Rider Rohan's going to respond with his own very strong AoE damage effect. Dwellers below getting popped there. Probably going to actually finish off the Phoenix Guard, perhaps as well, and the Rangers, but certainly will just devastate my units there. You can see here that the Reavers did actually rout off those Marauder Horsemen, but looks like Wolfrick's coming to play there up on the ridge. The archers set up in a nice position, going to try and get at them with the Beasts of Tashnar. Swing around with the other Norskin Warhounds as well, and just try and make sure we, pressure this backline as much as possible. Don't let those archers just sit comfy. Warshrine Mammoth also charging through, mostly a distraction at this point to keep the archers off of Wolfrick and other high-value targets. Looking pretty rough right now, though. That's a pretty decisive route in the center as a lot of my support units are gone, but Wolfrick supporting the Horsemen. They managed to hold out. That Rage passive, certainly, as I mentioned, is very useful. Physical resistance, of course, can stack with the War Shrine, potentially, to get up to 20% physical resistance. The extra melee attack helps them also in kind of that hybrid role as well. So, yeah, as I mentioned, the other variants, of course, like Khorne, has extra charge, extra weapon damage, anti-infantry, obviously very tilted towards the melee spectrum of that hybrid. And then you have Tzeentch with their kind of specialist Warp Flame. Slaanesh also very good in a hybrid situation with Devastating Flanker and has magic damage on their javelins. Nurgle, of course, gets poison and throwing axes with the shields, and extra HP makes them surprisingly tough in certain engagements. Like, they can definitely stand up fairly well. Nice final transmutation, though, gets unleashed by the Vengeful Shaman Sorcerer here. Kind of busts up the character blob, forces those two characters away so that I can 1v1 with Wolfrick versus Tyrion. The Phoenix is going to charge back in, not caring too much about the damage of Final Transmutation, but the burst damage of that, plus Hunter of Champions, Wolfrick charging in with his Mammoth, getting a few decisive hits on Tyrion. We're able to actually terrify him away before he gets the Heart of Avalorn. Unfortunately, don't have the tools to pressure and actually chase him off right now. So he is going to get away, and the Phoenix is still standing firm, terrifying away my own caster there. So rough stuff all around, but Marauder Horsemen still here, still throwing axes. We've got Marauder Berserkers moving in as well, of course. And then, yeah, over on the far side, I'm eventually going to deploy these Marauder Horsemen on this objective just to kind of pressure my opponent in terms of capture weight and not allow Rider Rohan to just sit pretty here. I want to try and capture his side objective if I can. Pull units away from this center fight. Marauder Berserkers get in here, though. They're going to absolutely carve up these weakened archers. They'll even do good damage to the Reavers and whatnot as well. Going to do a great job of just kind of cleaning up and actually allowing me to hold this center objective for some time. It has been quite the back and forth here in the middle. We've kind of been trading the objective one after the other, and right now it's in my control, but we'll see. Rider Rohan putting together a little push here. He's got Rangers, White Lions, some more Silver Helms coming out as well. And, yeah, have I actually noticed my horsemen? Looks like now I'm pulling them back, and I think I'm going to send him over there. At some point, I'm definitely going to send some Marauder Horsemen over there, but got a couple of new, fresh units out, continuing to just throw axes at whatever high-value target. Tyrion and the Phoenix are two that I'm going to be trying to focus down as much as I can right now, but if we get in close, maybe you'll be able to actually see. It's a little bit tricky when they're throwing in an arc like this, but they actually do just throw straight through their own friendly unit models, and definitely think it's a behavior that's not intended. We'll see also as these Silverhelms start to charge through onto this blob. You guys can see up close the bug that I'm talking about, hopefully. Perhaps. Maybe we need the health bars up. You can actually see, or maybe they don't actually have a throw order. There we go. Maybe. Of course, as soon as I mention the bug in a replay, they don't actually do it. But anyway, even just with their own combat stats, enough of them in the big blob like this, they should be able to fight okay. Certainly Tyrion coming back is a problem, recovers his leadership, and I think he did even get the Heart of Avalorn proc. Yep, he's up to his healing cap, so not too much more healing to be done there, but I've got to be really careful about engaging with Wolfrick. I've got the second Mammoth back out, though, after having it get routed off earlier. And let's see if it can help contribute here. Basically, I'm just waiting for an opportunity with maybe Hunter of Champions, if I can get my caster out as well again, which looks like I have done. Doing another big final transmutation, charge in with Wolfrick, and see if we can get a break on Tyrion. Here, though, I mean, the Silverhelms, of course, again, since I mentioned the bug, these Marauder Horsemen won't actually do it. But Wolfrick comes in, helps to fight Silverhelms just that extra little bit. We've also got some Norskin Warhounds there. See there, the horsemen throwing as they disengage, and that's sort of the traditional way you might use them in melee against Silverhelms, right? Like engage in melee momentarily and then pull away, and as they're pulling away, they should get some really good axe throwing, but a little bit of a searing doom there. Overcast, get a wider area of effect, more missiles, does great damage to the Silverhelms and supporting infantry, but Mammoth just acting as a distraction piece at this point, trying to keep much value tied down as possible. There we go. I was going to say, those Marauder Horsemen tattered over there eventually do get through, and that's going to start to distract, very slowly capture that objective. Even if we can just pull some additional Reavers away, that'll be good in and of itself. And there's a big final transmutation once again, getting that blob sorted out, and you know what that means. Hunter of Champions also immediately as a follow-up, and then a big charge from Wolfrick. We can get 2v1 with the Mammoth, with the War Shrine Mammoth and Wolfrick together. That would be pretty ideal, but just the damage in and of itself with the final transmutation and a couple of hits is enough to terrify away Tyrion again. He's down to 140 HP, so I highly doubt that he'll be coming back this time, but let's keep him in the background just to be sure. There are Phoenix Guard that reinforced here, though, so although Wolfrick's getting a little bit of physical resistance from the War Shrine, it's not going to be enough to save him from these Phoenix Guard, and even though, I mean, this mass disruption is pretty serious with two Mammoths fighting like this, the archers are also shooting him ever so slightly, and Wolfrick does fall. But guess who's still fighting? That's right, Marauder Horsemen here already generated some pretty nice value there. The other horsemen over on the far side still haven't been responded to. I've actually managed to throw down quite a bit of capture weight there. Marauder Rohan gets some Illyrian Reavers out to go try and win that fight there. Another round of Berserkers is in order to hold the center. As I see these Rangers coming out from Marauder Rohan, we can just hard counter them with the Berserkers. Although the Phoenix Guard and the Phoenix itself are definitely going to be a problem still. I'm going to try and use my throwing axes once again to deal missile damage to them, but let's see. Right now I have a lot of them retreated or routed off the field. This one is very shortly about to get routed off the field. The Poison Warhounds there, yeah, are not going to be able to get in combat in time to really help out, but at the very least we can bring in some more horsemen here. Continue fighting, and nice little disrupting charge there. Marauder Horsemen fully charged up with Enrage, I believe. Yes, fully charged up there, plus 5 melee attack up to 28. The extra leadership, of course, also helps, especially against the high leadership faction like Elves, like all Elves pretty much. Berserkers charging in here, getting their axes out for, I would imagine, for Khorne. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of a, rude generalization to say that all Berserkers worship Khorne, but I'm gonna go there. And the Marauder Horsemen, again, sweeping up and around the flanks. Looks like we're gonna go for a little charge here against these archers. The Phoenix and the Mage very quickly respond. They're trying to chase off the War Shrine Mammoth here. one thing, since Ryder Rohan is my patron, and this was during one of our live coaching sessions, it would be good if he could summon a ranger and just, like, go try and do to him what, do to me what I'm doing to him over here. Just kind of pressure my side objective, even if it's with a small amount of value. One of these rangers over there would actually go a long way in terms of forcing me to respond, and especially if you were to just quickly fly the Phoenix over there, drop down and get a fast tear route on those Marauder Spearmen, you could really ruin my day very quickly. But as it is right now, the Spearmen should be enough to just defend there. The Mammoth does come back from route and is just chilling in the woods, eating some shrubberies, no doubt. The Marauder Horsemen trying to protect against the Silverhelms. I missed it, actually. There's a beautiful little end around here, hammer and anvil. The Silverhelms rear charging my Berserkers in the front, or in the back, obviously, that were fighting in the front line, and just routing them very quickly. I try and respond with the Horsemen efficiently and fast, but unfortunately the Silverhelms are able to rally and just push me back. That being said, we do have some more Berserkers and Marauders coming through, and should be able to actually just, yeah, if we can force these Silverhelms to overextend a little bit, these Marauder Horsemen will definitely come back from route and should be able to help, kind of all together help take down, I guess one is actually Illyrian Reavers, which will make my job much easier. But Silverhelms charging straight into Berserkers. We'll get some pretty good damage on the charge, certainly, but they're also going to take some damage in return, even with their armor helping them out in this situation. You can see that the Berserkers are able to get some pretty good DPS back, and then as soon as the Marauder Horsemen throwing axes turn around, they're going to just charge in here. Weirdly enough, they use lances in melee, even though they have their throwing axes. And you see there, I don't know if you saw in the background there, like one of the Marauder Horsemen at the back of the formation threw an axe through his own unit. I almost said through, which would have just been great, but you know what I'm saying. He threw the axe, yeeted it straight, phasing through their friends' bodies, which, I mean, again, probably not intended. Rangers and Phoenix Guard going to try and push back my horsemen, but we can just do a classic little Parthian skirmish here. Send some Marauders in, the Infantry Marauders to screen. Beasts of Tashnar pushing back. Last of the Silverhelms there as well. And some Illyrian Reavers that had been defending there are going to push up and around and try and just pressure me, continue to keep me on the back foot, because certainly Ryder Rohan's got me pushed pretty far off of the objective by now. The Warshrine Mammoth tried to make a play and just instantly shatters, so that's fine. But finally, we've got another Marauder Horseman online. I mean, this one's already been summoned a couple times. Yeah, once at least. Has paid for themselves, so see what they can do here. This is going to be a pretty decisive engagement. We've got more Reavers coming through, but notice how and again, they're kind of throwing while being engaged in melee with the Reavers, throwing into both of these fights on both sides. But I'm just going to try and force my Marauder Horsemen through at this point. I know they'll keep throwing at the Illyrian Reavers as I'm just force pathing them up the hill and around. My objective is just to go capture Ryder Rohan's objective, basically, right? Because I don't think I'm going to be able to break through all of this value in the center, but I certainly can utilize mobility to just bypass this big old pocket of infantry. There's a couple of Phoenix Guards here. There's a lot of value that I'm just going to struggle to break through, so best I can do is just to bypass them and try and beat his limited cavalry forces. Beasts of Tashnar come in to clean up the strung-out Illyrian Reavers. And then we have enough Marauder Horsemen to get through. I'm still not 100% sure we'll be able to beat a full unit of Reavers, but I'm going to try and win on positioning here. We'll keep it in up-close cam. You can see that I've kind of put a little bit of a concave, like don't put all the Marauder Horsemen in one position. And we've got, yeah, all three units here going to be positioning, again, in kind of a concave, trying as much as possible to use the ranged attacks against the Reavers and maybe, you know, pulling away with this one, side charging in with the two from the side there, and then just mass collapse all at once. Once we have everyone in position, we should be able to outnumber, and there you saw pretty clearly throwing in melee. At least I hope you did. The flag was kind of covering it a little bit, but yeah, the Reavers are not able to stand up in a fight like this, just significantly outnumbered, and that leaves me with enough to perhaps capture. I mean, the points are super close right now. Yeah, I mean, Ryder Rohan was literally just about to take the lead within the next couple of seconds and pass me, but I'm able to actually retain my lead just barely by capturing that objective. And you can see him desperately reinforcing with some Silverhelms and Reavers over to the far side, but I mean, I think I bought myself enough time, even if he were to recapture this, you know, it's going to take him long enough that I think I should still be able to win, even by just holding my own far side objective there. Got some berserkers fighting, but who cares? We're focusing on the light cavalry today, and the Marauder Horsemen fighting it out to the last, defending, screening, and then falling back. Yeah, let's see if the ammo count actually drops here while they're in melee. It's a little bit odd actually trying to see, yeah, that bug in action sometimes, but it's enough to hold on for the win, so very well played to Marauder Rohan. Ends up being super close, one of the closest Domination games I personally have played recently. But Wolfrick, I mean, obviously, lore of boats on the Mammoth, you would expect him to carry a lot of value. But besides that, not a lot else in my army was wildly cost-effective. I mean, a couple of Marauders trade okay. Berserkers, actually, I take that back. They do a fairly good job on a couple of summons there. I think these two were both resummoned twice, and even still, that's cost-effective. But look at these throwing axes. Again, a lot of them I could have resummoned twice, and they would have more than paid for themselves. So, definitely a strong unit for all of the Chaos factions. I would consider them the best skirmish cavalry in the game, and the conclusions are not just based on this replay, but, like I said, based on a lot of replays I've seen of various factions using them, playing against them myself, you know, playing with them myself, all that stuff. Definitely very, very good right now. And even once the bug gets fixed, still might be the best skirmish cav in the game. But, yeah, for Tyrion here, for Marauder Rohan, I'm actually kind of impressed with how well the Rangers did, all things considered. The Phoenix Guard, likewise, I also didn't have the best AoE damage for dealing with them, but Lore of Boats was enough at the end of the day to at least keep them somewhat limited. But definitely, Elite Halberds can be good against Norsca if you can keep them away from said AoE magic damage. Reavers also proved to be pretty cost-effective, as do Silver Helms, kind of counter-pressuring my own mobility, but just mispositioning at the very end there, not defending the correct objective, ends up costing him the game. Phoenix also very cost-effective, great monster. I mean, all the Phoenixes, you really can't go wrong with any of them right now, I think. So, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed watching this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.